That gear broke the whole system. At 12.9 miles, I fell straight onto my face. So the next thing I remember, I wake up on a stretcher in the ambulance on the way to the emergency room. Good morning, it's 6:30 in the a.m. Look, I just want to start off this video by saying I'm a weightlifter. I always have been a weightlifter, but this last summer, I decided to try and run a half marathon. A huge emphasis on tried. Needless to say, I came up 0.2 miles short, ended up passed out on a stretcher in the back of an ambulance, and then ended up 3 days in the hospital. Here's what I did, and here's what you shouldn't do. Kind of everything leading up to my half marathon, and then when everything came crashing downhill. So yeah, maybe you guys will take something away from this if you're gonna run a half marathon, or if you're planning on running a half marathon, or you were maybe thinking about it and now you're saying, hell no, I don't want to run a marathon anymore. Trust me, it's not that scary. I was just very dumb. So yeah, let's get into it. So first things first, let me set the stage. Now, Preston, you're a weightlifter. Why are you running a half marathon? And that's a great question that you asked. So it's never been a passion of mine to run long distances, especially finish a half marathon. But my friend Ben, in the town that he lives in, they were hosting a half marathon. He asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, I don't know. And then he convinced me to do it. And so that's pretty much the story of how I got into running a half marathon. There wasn't too much thought that went behind it. So he asked me about late May, early June. Race day was scheduled for August 26th. I can't remember. I don't really remember a lot from that day. I wasn't expecting the weather to be this hot, so I wasn't really preparing to run in heat. On race day, I think it was 95 degrees at like 100 to 105% humidity. So it was just muggy as all heck. We're about a week away from race day, and then we all get an email from the event coordinators saying, hey guys, if you're signed up for the full marathon, you are not anymore because we are canceling the full marathon due to this heat wave. Half marathon goers, you guys can choose to defer your ticket till next year, or you can downgrade to the 10K if you don't want to run the half marathon. Now, I took that as like a challenge, like, oh, you don't think I can do this? I should have listened to them. I still proceeded as normal. I wasn't going to back out now. Everybody was telling me to back out. That same weekend was my mom's birthday. They went to Minneapolis to go to like a Twins game and everything like that. So they're like, yeah, just come celebrate with mom. You don't have to run this half marathon. They already gave you an option to go out. And I was like, no, I've been preparing for this moment for my whole life. Literally like a month and a half. I'm not going to miss this. And so I should have listened to them. So preparation for this race, I thought I was ready, and I think I was. If it wasn't for all this heat, I was putting in my miles. Like, I wasn't really slacking off with my training. I thought I did pretty well as like a weightlifter, previous football player. Not really running long distance, but, you know, I thought I did pretty good. So I thought I was ready. Spoiler alert, I was not. It didn't end up good for me. So race day is here. Me, Ben, Luke, and Gage. Those are Emma's brothers. Here we are. We're at the half marathon. They were also participating in the race with us. So that morning of, I was feeling good. You know, I was hydrating the last 2 days. Nutrition was pretty on point, I would say. I was definitely nervous because of the weather, but I didn't really pay much mind to it. I'm just like, I've got to run it no matter what. So probably a little bit of overconfidence played into this whole thing. But anyways, race starts. We're off a good pace. You know, I'm feeling super good. I popped a gel right away. And I'm even vlogging during this whole thing. Coming up on a mile. We're feeling good. I'm a human, but nothing that I haven't trained before. 1 mile. 1 mile. I was prepared to have a nice vlog for you guys about this whole ordeal, but it turns out to be an aftermath video. My first few miles were okay. I think like the first 3 miles on any run I ever do just suck. So the first 3 miles were okay. Mile 4 or 5. It got better, but then miles 6 and 7, this is where things started to look really, really good for me, but then also attributed to my downfall. I don't know what Icarus said, you fly too close to the sun, your wings melt, and then you fly and you die. That's kind of what happened here. So miles 6 and 7, I was feeling great. You know, me, Ben, and Luke, we were all running beside each other from the beginning of the race. keeping pace with each other. But then something got over me, and I hit this runner's high, and then I broke away from them. I left them in a cloud of dust. Needless to say, mile 6 and 7, I was cooking. And that lasted until about mile 11. Mile 7 through 11, great splits. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Now, if only I could have finished like that, I would have been happy. So mile 11, this is when things started to go very, very downhill. As I mentioned earlier, I left Luke and Ben behind me. As I'm running, got to about mile 11 and a half. There's a big old bend that comes around. You kind of loop around to go into mile 12. So I'm running, and I see Ben and Luke in front of me. And I'm just like, what the heck? I passed you guys so long ago, and no way you caught up to me and passed me. Here's what happened. I did not see them. I was hallucinating at this point due to massive dehydration and just complete exhaustion. And so I'm mad at this point, and so I start going faster. And so I'm just like, I gotta catch up to these guys. They cannot finish before me. My competitive nature came out here and bit me in the butt. I get to mile 12, and this is when shit hits the fan. I literally have to stop because I'm breathing so heavy. My heart rate is so high. And I was super, super lightheaded. Mile 12 through 12 and a half, I'm like running, stopping. And then mile 12 and a half, I'm just like, okay, dude, you literally have like a half a mile to go. You need to finish this. And you just need to go all out. Like, the faster you run, the faster you're going to get done with this. And that was the only thing going through my head, was just finishing this stupid race. My body can rest later kind of mentality. Like, you can give a little bit more, Preston. And so I'm running. I get to about mile 12.8, and I am just fuzzy, like, in the eyes. I don't know what's going on. My body's on autopilot, basically, like, one foot in front of the other. I'm not even thinking. 12.9 miles came. I'm looking at my watch like every few seconds here. 12.9 miles came, and I can start seeing the finish line. And so then I'm just like, yes, all right. And then I kick it into another gear, but that gear broke the whole system. At 12.9 miles, I fell straight onto my face. My mind was telling me to keep going, but my body was like, nope. And then I fell. There were some bystanders and some runners that helped me up. If you're watching this, thank you so much. God bless you. I took one more step, fell over, and then the lights went out. So the next thing I remember, I wake up on a stretcher in the ambulance on the way to the emergency room. I look over at the ambulance man. I say, hey, call Emma. And then I puked on him, and then I passed out again. So I get to the emergency room, and this is when things got really, really scary for me. I woke up like 30 minutes, hour later. They got some fluids in me. The doctor started asking me some basic questions. She's like, what's your name? I said, my name's Preston. And then she's like, okay, what's your address? Didn't remember my address. She's like, you remember what you were doing this morning? No idea what I did this morning. She's like, do you know the president? And I was like, no idea who the president is. My mind was blank. So yeah, that was super scary. I didn't remember a single, like, I could barely remember anything. She asked where I was, and I said, in the hospital. And she's like, yeah, but where? And I was like, I have no idea. So another thing too, they thought I hit my head, which I probably did. They brought me back to get a CAT scan. And then another thing too, like, I had no control over my body. And they were like, can you move over to your side, Preston? I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't move my legs. And so just so many things are running through my head. But I am all good now. Everything's fine. Like, I'm not paralyzed. My brain's not messed up. Well, my brain is messed up, but not to the extent that I can't remember anything. So what happened is I passed out due to heat stroke. My body was just completely exhausted to the max. Yeah, my heart was super, super taxed too. Going into the hospital, I had a internal temp of 104. And also they were worried about my heart because there were some like indicators of like early onset like heart attacks. So they were monitoring that. And then also like my kidneys were very, very messed up as well. That's what really kept me in the next like 2 days. So they kept me the next 2 days to give me fluids, make sure all my levels evened out. I was supposed to go home that first day, but then everything was still messed up, so they kept me another day. On that second day, a doctor came in, the heart doctor. She's like, you passed out due to heat stroke. I was like, yeah. She's like, you're running a half marathon? I was like, yeah. She's like, you could have died. And then I was like, haha. She's like, no, you could have died. Like, really? So that's when things kind of like really washed over me. Like, dang, I need to be more careful. So that kind of brings me into what went wrong. What went wrong during my race? you know, preparation was all good. I probably could have trained a little bit better to prepare for like the heat aspect, but that wasn't really the main factor in all this. The main factor was my hydration during the race. Now, at every like 3 miles, they have hydration stations where they have water, Gatorade, and then gel packets. On the first hydration station, about mile 2 or 3, I take a water cup, and I am still running with this water cup, and I try to drink it while running. Needless to say, I about waterboarded myself, and I barely got any water, and it just kind of messed up my pacing and like my mindset during that time. What kind of went through my head after that ordeal, I was like, you know what? During my long runs, during training, like where I'd run 10 or 11 miles, I never had water like in increments like that. So like, why would I do that during my actual race? It's like kind of like a practice how you play mentality. Obviously came back to bit me in the butt. Ended up 3 days in the hospital because of it. So use those stations to your advantage and don't just bypass them. Now, if you're a seasoned and elite runner, and you probably know what the hell you're doing, so if you want to pass those, you could pass those. But I would say if you're a new runner doing your first half marathon, first 10K, whatever it may be, use those stations and drink the water. Another thing too, where I went wrong is I had a goal in my head. Not to say that goals are bad. Goals are amazing, but my goal on this race should have been just to finish. I had a goal in mind of finishing under 2 hours. I think it just sounded kind of sexy, honestly. But my goal, being a first-time half marathon runner, and especially being a weightlifter and not a distance runner, I should have just had the goal of just finishing. Kind of one thing to take away from this is if you're doing something new for the first time, kind of set your pride to the side and let yourself be bad a little bit. I hate being bad at things because I am an athlete and I'm a competitor. I want to be good at things. So yeah, if you're trying something new, whether it be running, weightlifting, a new sport, you know, just anything in life, let yourself be bad a little bit. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I'm going to use for the rest of my life here. And also staying hydrated. Now, am I done running? No. I will definitely have to redeem myself with those last 0.2 miles. I'm definitely going to be taking a break from running and focusing on weightlifting more now. I think I'll run later on in my life. I'm going to focus on weightlifting for the next few years. But yeah, if you're watching this and you're kind of relating maybe to this, it doesn't have to be with running. It could be with like trying out a new sport or something like that, where you kind of messed up and you bit off more than you could really chew. Leave it down in the comments. I know it's embarrassing to talk about. I hate talking about this, but you know, it's a good lesson for me, and I think it's a good lesson for other people to hear, like of other people's mistakes, so we can kind of collectively get better in a sense. So yeah, if you have any like mishaps, leave it down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. It'd make me feel a lot better too. Not just think that I'm like the only one that's done something like this. But yeah, if you are still here, like and subscribe. It also mean the world to me. For right now, that's all I got. Stay hydrated. Don't be dumb. I'll see you guys later. Bye.